Okay, welcome everyone, 30k Forgotten Legion. We're in Tom's dark house.
Everything is dark.
Everything's dark. So apologise for the light, but we've tried our best. And it is a dull day, unfortunately, in December. So this is what we're stuck with, but it's all good. You know, most people tend to listen rather than watch, which is better for our faces that are made for radio only.
Yeah, well, speak for yourself now.
Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today. So today we're going to talk about the 7th Legion, Imperial Fists, and I've got Tom, who is this sort of, what do they call your praetors? Are they called something else? Or are they just called praetors?
Like Castellans.
Yeah, that's the one. So the Castellan of the Fists. Been planning for a very long time. We'll let him explain that in a minute. And yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to do. A deep dive into the 7th Legion, talking about loads of cool stuff, really. So let's get started. Is that all right?
Sounds like fun. Yeah, I'm good to go.
Cool. Okay, so I guess the first question always is going to be the same one. Why Imperial Fists?
Well, I mean, I've always been like a long-term Black Templar player. Mm-hmm. So for years I played Black Templars in 40k, and around the time of the Badab War books from Forge World came out, we started playing like some sort of proto-heresy games. And it gave me a chance to make Sigismund in plastic. So with this little campaign, I made my own little kit bash version of Sigismund and played through a load of missions that way. And yeah, I just sort of really fell in love with their character. They're sort of like the resilience of them, the fact that they don't really back down and they're willing to take any kind of punishment just to make sure that the objective is won, even if it's like sometimes to their own detriment. You know, they'll actually suffer quite horrific losses just to stubbornly hold on for like one more little bit around of fighting. And yeah, there's just something about the army that really appealed to me. And yeah, I also kind of hate myself because painting yellow is a nightmare. And I used to actually paint it over black because it's like try and get all the black in the recesses and then work up from there. But it was absolutely soul destroying. So yeah, moved on to a white undercoat from that. But yeah, I've been playing for about it's like at least 12 years now. And yeah, once the actual the Horus Heresy rule set came out properly, I then went all in with like a big boarding marine army, loads of dreadnoughts. It's something that really appealed to me, was the idea of lots of boarding actions. So it was the whole plan of the army was going to be just dreadnoughts and just like boarding marines and everything focused around that, so like Terminators and everything. And now as time has gone on, my army's like just grown and grown, and like I can do an entire armoured spearhead if I want, or a whole army just in like everything in Land Raiders and Spartans, and you know, loads of tactical flexibility now.
Wow. So how many points you got?
Over 10,000 easily, all fully painted.
Wow.
With the Forge World Thunderhawk as the sort of like nice big centerpiece.
Have you used that yet?
I haven't used it in this edition because its rules have gone a little bit downhill.
Right.
But I'm planning on using it at some point soon, and putting 3 Leviathans in it, and just flying it straight at someone, and just having 3 Leviathans just open up and just charge out. It's probably not going to be very effective because of the amount of points investment, but it will be funny to see someone's face as 3 Leviathans are suddenly just in your deployment zone.
Well, yeah. Funny for
me.
For you.
Yeah, funny for me, but that's surely half the fun.
Absolutely. All right, awesome. Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, that's great. Cool. All right, well, just moving on then. So, in regards to, and you sort of alluded to it a bit, but in regards to version 1 and 2, how have they sort of changed?
They've changed. I would say that it's not been a massive change, but they've definitely become a lot more flexible than they were before. You know, in the first edition, they had +1 ballistic skill to their bolt weapons, and also heavy support squads had tank hunters. So if you were to make the most out of their Legion trait, taking lots of heavy support squads to get that tank hunters for the rerolls and stuff was always like quite a good shout. But it also makes the army very predictable and very boring. And they only really had one rite of war that worked, which was the Stone Gauntlet.
Yeah, so well, we know about that.
Yeah, lots of boarding marines and like heavy support squads to back them up. And that's generally how I played as well. So even in the first edition when dreadnoughts weren't amazing, I used to run loads of just normal boarding marines and dreadnoughts and try and flood the board that way. So when this edition's come round, they've lost the tank hunters on the heavy support squads, but I mean las cannons have got Sunder now, so it kind of balances out. So if you want to run the army in the same way, you kind of can. But I think they've become a lot more flexible. So they've got 3 solid rights of war, each of which can actually build a really interesting play style of army. So like one's more focused on deep striking, one is all about taking Templar Brethren as your troops. So to kind of represent Sigismund leading his own company right into the heart of like the enemy.
Yeah, that's really cool. And
then
last book, isn't it?
Yeah,
I really enjoyed
really
that part.
Good.
But in the last book, they talked about that. I really enjoyed that bit.
Yeah, it's nice how you start in the books, how you see that shift from kind of noble warrior with Sigismund going towards complete, just emotionally dead and seeing himself as nothing but an instrument. And you can see how the Horus Heresy setting is slowly shifting to this like stagnated, like basically death cult that the Imperium becomes. That people are just like losing all sense of humanity, because that's what they have to do to just try and keep the rest of humanity alive. It's grim. But so there's 2 of them, and then you've obviously got the infamous Stone Gauntlet Rite of War, which everyone loves, and they must love it because they tell me about it all the time. In fact, every opportunity, it's just like Stone Gauntlet. It's so much fun, isn't it? But I will get onto that later as well. And I've actually got some thoughts about that myself. So later on we'll talk about that. But I think they've become a lot more dynamic this edition, rather than just there is one way to play them. Like in last edition, there was one way to play them, and that was effective. Now you can actually build lots of different armies that will keep your opponent guessing.
Cool.
So they've definitely had a massive boost this edition.
So that's what I was going to say. Are they better? But
yeah, definitely, hands down, I would say they are like up there as one of the best legions to come out in this edition.
I'd agree with that. And I'm a loyalist player. I never really play against them.
No.
But all I ever hear about is the traitors moaning.
Yeah.
I have to play Stone Gauntlet.
Yeah, it is. It's not always fun. So it's nice having the other rights of war to then, do that. So they've definitely had a big change. It looks on paper very subtle, but the way they play has changed so much.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. Awesome stuff. Thanks for that. Okay. Right. So a few more things to talk about.
Yeah.
There's a few more I'm going to throw at you, and then just pick out from that. So we're going to talk about Legion rules, what weaponry they have, specific ones, not just your normal bog standard things. No,
of course.
And then the advanced reaction. So if you can pick out them, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll go for it. Well, I'll start with the Legion rules then. So in this edition is with all bolt and auto weapons, they get +1 to hit.
Right.
So previously it was +1 ballistic skill. Now it's just +1 to hit across the board with bolt and auto weapons. So previously it was just bolt weapons. The addition of auto weapons.
Sorry, does that count for snap shooting then?
It does.
Oh, bloody
because
hell.
it's an addition to the dice roll.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect the ballistic skill. It's an addition to the roll.
Such a good rule.
It's really good. So it's actually quite a good tactic sometimes to even walk with, say, a heavy bolter. Because you're snap shooting on 5s.
Yeah.
So to try and get into a decent position.
If you've got loads of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And when we get onto the section talking about like tactics and how to use them, that's something I'll definitely hit on. The Legion rules themselves, there is such a vast range of auto weapons that now it's like even tanks. The Predator cannon on a tank, that's an auto weapon.
Wow.
Yeah, rotor cannons for pinning, auto weapons. So you take rotor cannons that hit on 2s. Wow. Because it affects dreadnoughts on if it's night fight and you've got a dreadnought with an auto weapon, they're still hitting on 2s because they're -1 ballistic skill, but they get +1 to hit, so they're still hitting on 2s.
Yeah, wow.
Which is really strong. So
it's pretty scary.
I think the addition of auto weapons rather than just bolt is one of the things that really helped tip them up the rankings in that kind of. It's just so effective because there's so many different types of auto weapons like auto cannons.
So there's a subdivision, isn't there, in the book, which has auto weapons,
and
then
under that
it's listed all those things.
Even shotguns, Astartes shotguns are count as auto weapons.
Wow.
Which is insane. Which brings me comfortably onto their Legion-specific weaponry.
Mm-hmm.
So they can take Iliastus pattern assault cannons.
Yep.
So that's just a 4-shot assault cannon that can be taken essentially on any model that has a heavy flamer. Can replace it for an assault cannon.
For free?
Not for free. So it's different points depending on like things. So for example, infantry it's 10 points.
Okay.
And vehicles and dreadnoughts it's 20 points.
Right.
So if you have to pay for a heavy flamer, then you have to pay for that first and then swap it out.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can put an assault cannon in the fist of a dreadnought, so it can have a normal Carey's pattern assault cannon and the Iliastus. So it's got all those extra shots whilst not compromising on the Grabber's Power Fist.
And what's the difference for the Iliastus one then?
So the Iliastus is 4-shot and the Carey's is 6. So it's 2
Same apart from that?
Everything's the same.
Oh.
It has the malfunction special rule, or I think it's still called the malfunction, where if you fire the Iliastus pattern as part of a reaction, then it gets the gets hot special rule.
Okay.
But it's AP4, so I mean you'll still get armor saves and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not that bad. They've also got recently in the Siege of Cathonia book a special kind of shotgun called Ferromag shotguns that are a range 10 assault 1 shotgun. So again, auto weapons hitting on 2s, but they have breaching 6+ and strength 5. So they're if you want to arm recon marines without nemesis bolters, which is the kind of standard, you can give them these shotguns, infiltrate them, get them close, and then just have the breaching to start removing.
Deadly.
Yeah,
if you got in mass.
Yeah, I mean,
both 10 of them maybe.
I play Sons of Horus as well, as you know, and they have Bane Strike bolters, which are also breaching 6+. So now Imperial Fists have something similar because heaven forbid they should miss out on any kind of interesting worlds. No, so they're the two ranged weapon options. Then they also have access to the Solarite Power Gauntlet.
Right, yes.
So that is a set value, strength 10, AP1 Power Fist.
Stolen from Custodes, it seems.
I think yeah. I mean, maybe. You could argue which one came first.
I suppose they are standing next to them most of the time.
Yeah, and in the background it does say that it's like they're crafted on Terra and they're these really advanced Power Fists and a symbol of their legion. So it's they're flat strength 10.
Yeah, I know.
So it's really, really quite good with that. Any model that in your army can swap a Thunderhammer for a Solarite Gauntlet for free.
Yeah. Are they just brutal 1?
They're they're not brutal. It's just strength 10 AP1.
Yeah.
But what they have over a normal Power Fist is they are melee. They're not a specialist weapon, they're just melee. So if you've got a guy with a bolt pistol and a Solarite Gauntlet, he gets the extra attacks.
Wow, that's good.
So it's really good. The strength 10 means you double out toughness 5 models.
Yeah.
And they're
so
AP1.
People like Galval back.
Yeah, Galval back. So you'll pump. Custodes as well, which is quite funny that their own weapon against them is actually really quite effective.
I mean, generally they're not going to fight each other, but
generally not. But I mean,
for these paintball and LARP games, they do.
I mean, I think if you read the Siege of Terra books, they definitely came close, and I think the Custodes would have wanted to be honest.
Yeah, well, Custodes don't like the Astartes.
I don't think they like anyone, to be honest, other than the Emperor.
Yeah.
But so yeah, you've got the Solarite Gauntlet, which is it's fantastic en masse. It's anti-infantry because of its high strength, and also if you want to take on vehicles, you can explode vehicles in the same way as a multi-melter because you've got the AP1.
Yeah.
So that little extra bit of pip on the vehicle damage table can come in really useful.
AP1, yeah.
AP1,
so good.
Yeah, it's just that tiny little bump in the AP, but it can make a huge difference.
Yeah, it's a 5 as a vehicle dead, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, so that's their melee option. And then the final option is the Vigil Pattern Storm Shield.
Right.
So unlike other Storm Shields from like the Salamanders that gives units like +1 invulnerable save, this is a flat 3+ invulnerable.
Right.
No matter who takes it, it's 3+ invulnerable.
That's much better because Dragon Scale, because I play Salamanders, as you know, like it gives a +1. So as you say, like if you've got like a refractor field, you're going to get a 4+.
Yeah.
But with your shields, you get just a flat 3.
3 up no matter what. Yeah.
So, if I didn't even have anything, I think it would give me a 5 at Dragon Scale.
Yeah.
But that's pretty good, isn't it?
And it's and that it's it's like 20 points to give it to an independent character, regardless of what they're in. and then any other model that is in Cataphractii armour can take it for 10 points, or in Tartarus armour it's 15, because obviously it balances out their Tartarus have a 5 up invulnerable normally.
Yeah, of course.
So bumping that from a 5 up to a 3 up,
Does it
whilst maintaining their movement, their ability to sweep,
Oh my God.
all that.
That's horrendous.
Yeah, so like models in Tartarus armour with a storm shield, being able to run units down, being able to run as well, just run.
They can run as well.
Yeah, they are really good. So you have to swap the combi weapons, so you lose any range.
Boo.
But then, you can take thunder hammers, you can take storm,
God.
solar pattern gauntlets, that kind of stuff. It's
They can. Yeah. That's crazy.
So
they can run people down. I mean, obviously, Salamodes can't. We're stuck.
So I think a lot of people tend to run Tartarus Terminators with storm shields. It's quite an effective strategy.
What's the storm shield called again?
The Vigil Pattern Storm Shield.
Right, wow.
They also have a nice little rule in there that is quite often overlooked, but it says that it's a 3 up invulnerable save that cannot be modified by other special rules.
Wow.
So, for example, if someone's got something, I don't even know if anything exists at the moment, or whether this is just like future proofing, but if someone's got a rule that modifies an invulnerable save, it just doesn't work against it.
Wow.
So if you had something that goes, this reduces invulnerable saves by 1, but no, it's still a 3 up.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, makes Imperial Fist Terminators just so resilient.
Yeah. I mean, I do like the fact that they are so resilient, because they are at the Siege of Terror. They are the first line of defence in a way. I'm not trying to, sully the other legions, because obviously the 9th Legion, 5th Legion were there as well, but
yeah, they were there.
The reality is,
eventually,
wow, they were there the whole time. But the 5th Legion were doing hit and run raids, weren't they? Especially against the Death Guard. That was awesome.
Yeah.
But they're still on the walls, but they haven't got that. I guess they don't seem that they have that stoicism that Imperial Fists have.
Yeah.
And we're saying the Blood Angels are more of an assault legion, getting out there, getting in amongst it, and hard, fast assaults. And I imagine sort of withdrawing and regrouping and do it again. Whereas I think the Fists just stand their ground.
Yeah, they do, and they I think it's mentioned in the I think it's the Rogel Dawn Primarch series book,
right.
all about him.
I haven't read that one.
It's actually quite interesting. It goes into kind of the reasons why he was chosen as the Praetorian, and like there's conversations between Malcador and someone, and essentially Malcador says no matter who was going to be War Master, Dawn was always going to be the Praetorian. Because when he was given a job, no matter what it took, he would do it without complaint and without the cost to himself or to his men. And it's, he has to go, it's about him travelling into a section of space, not knowing where this alien species is, and just having to fight this unknown force that is constantly grinding his men down, and eventually having to find a way to do it and fulfill that task, regardless of what happens. And then as soon as it's done, he's taken massive losses to his legion.
Jesus.
And then is immediately sent to another battle zone and doesn't get any kind of credit for it or anything. And he just stoically goes, yeah, all right.
Yeah,
let's go
some
to the
people
next battle.
complain, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
like
some other more bitter, whiny child legions maybe.
Moany Iron Warriors would proper moan about that.
No, we get to do the one thing we're really good at. What a shame. But just a little dig at John there, as always. But yeah, they're fantastic for that kind of thing. They've got that real attitude of stoicism. So
yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah.
Any other special weapons that they have?
No, so that's it for the special weapons.
Assault cannon.
Yeah, the assault cannon, the shotguns.
Yep.
The Vigil Pattern Storm Shield, and then the Solar Gauntlet.
Awesome.
So that brings us nicely onto their advanced reaction.
I hate this one.
Yeah, I mean,
but
you know what? There is a lot of people who hate this one. I'm not going to lie. It's really strong, and I personally enjoy using it in like the pettiest ways possible.
Right, awesome.
So it's the advanced reaction is called the best defense. For those who don't know about it, and basically when an enemy unit ends its move within 10 inches of an Imperial Fist unit, you can react by rolling a d6 and adding your initiative, and if you've got enough on those dice to match the range between the unit that's moved and yours, you can charge them. And you count as charging in your opponent's movement phase. So, I mean, it's great because it means that you can essentially move some units forward with some dreadnoughts near them, because dreadnoughts can do it as well. It's not infantry, it's just, it's Yeah, it's non-vehicle models. So even Rogal Dawn. Can do it.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is
Oh my God.
some of the other rights. Was it advanced reactions? Don't allow their Primarchs to use them or certain things like that. But with Dawn, he can do the best defense. So tactically, it's fantastic because it means that people are scared to come within 10 inches of you. So like an assault-based army doesn't necessarily want to move within 10 inches of a tactical squad if there's a dreadnought there, because they might get charged by the dreadnought before they can do anything.
So
and you can't hold the line against it, so there's no way of stopping that charge. There's no way of making that charge disordered unless that squad has like a special rule or something like that.
No, you can't react to a reaction, can you?
No, you can't, because you're not the reactive player.
No,
you're the aggressor.
The active player. You're the active player. You can't use your reactions.
So it's fantastic. Like I've used it a number of times. Like I've used one of the first times I used it in this edition was using Rogal Dawn against Fulgrim. So Fulgrim's unit was trying to run away from him, and then went to charge a smaller unit of Templar Brethren, thinking if he wiped them out, then he would like be in a better stead to take on Rogal Dawn. And Dawn with a load of Terminators just went, oh, you finished your move within 10 inches, boom, and I rolled a 10 and literally just charged straight in and started hacking through all of his all of the Terminators that are surrounding Fulgrim.
I see.
Which then lent the Templar Brethren next turn could jump in as well.
So they
and just mugged him completely.
So were they like 10 away and you managed to get them?
They were 9 inches away.
Oh wow, you managed to roll 10. Oh, that's awesome.
So
I bet they were really pleased.
So that's Rupert, who I'm sure you're going to interview at some point. And so many games he's just like, you can see him just getting wound up when I've done stuff like that. But it is a very strong reaction.
I think it's funny, isn't it, when people do these long charges. I think my game the other week against Pete, he did both his charges was insane. Like they were like, he rolled like an 11, I think, from one of them. I think he needed a 10 for like Gilliman and friends, and they rolled a 10, and then he needed another long charge with Gilliman at the end and rolled that as well. I was like, all right, what can you do?
What can you do? And I mean, it swings and roundabouts.
It does happen to you too.
I've had so many games of my Sons of Horus rely on getting in combat. And I've had so many games of them where I was like, I've got 3 charges to do in this turn, and all of them fail, and like all of them were within like 6 inches. It's just like 4, 5, 2. It's like, come on.
Double one is the worst.
So when you get those long charges off, like when that risk really pays off.
The thing of beauty. Especially to use up your advanced reaction. So I suppose if you decided to do the charge, that's your advanced reaction completed, even if you don't make it.
That's it. Right? Once you've used it, you've used it. So obviously you've made the reaction.
Surge, but
you have to do the roll. You get the surge and everything. I can't remember if you actually get the surge or not. It is it's specified. It's mentioned in there specifically. So off the top of my head, I can't remember. But
it's a good advanced reaction, is it? Because it really puts you sort of into play, doesn't it? And you don't get initiative bonus, you just straight in.
You
roll the dice, get in there.
Roll it in. You get any charge bonuses. So
extra for movement.
If you've got dreadnoughts, they get +1 to that roll. Obviously, it's to your maximum charge.
Yeah, of course, to 12. Yeah.
But like I said, I actually really like using it in sort of quite petty and really surprising ways. So, in the most recent Brighton Heresy that you ran, I was playing the Alpha Legion guy who had this big unit of pyroclasts, and
with all the tanks.
Yeah, with all the tanks, big unit of pyroclasts, and he ran them into a position where he was going to shoot my Templar brethren, who were there's only 4 guys left. They were completely exposed. So they've got no cover save, no invulnerable save. I was like, they're going to die. And I had 1 guy left in my heavy support squad.
Right.
So I did the best defence with the heavy support marine.
Wow.
And he was just like, what are you doing? I was like, well, if I charge you now, you can't shoot my Templar brethren. It's like, I'm going to lose the heavy bolter guy, but I've got my Templars next for next turn.
Wow, yeah.
And they did. They then went on to like kill some tanks.
And the brave heavy bolter guy.
Yeah, the brave heavy bolter guy just ran in.
Chugged along with heavy bolter. Probably missed and died.
Yeah, he got absolutely battered.
Fireclast's all right now.
No, all right.
I won't talk about it too much because I've got plenty of time for that.
But this is more about the Imperial Fists. So it's using it in ways where your opponent doesn't necessarily expect is probably one of the best ways to get some use out of it. Obviously, dreadnoughts are one of the best units to use. If you can, then great. But it is it's a very, very strong reaction compared to some of the others. No,
it sounds awesome. As I said, because I don't play, it's one of those weird things where. Because I'm generally a loyalist. Well, I'm a loyalist player. I don't really. I mean, unless we're practice games, I don't really play against them. So it's good to sort of think about how when people are complaining so much about fists.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay,
Now
these are why.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Great. So moving on.
Yeah. Go for it.
Rights of war. You did talk about 3 rights of war, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, just talk about them really.
Yeah, go for it. Okay. So yeah, they have 3 very specific and very distinctly different rights of war. So I'll start my favourite, which is the Templar assault one. So basically, what it does is you have to take Templar Brethren squads as your compulsory troops. So they fill up your troop slots, and then you can take them just as troops after that.
This would be a Sigismund army then.
It's essentially meant to be representing like the Templar Brethren massed going to war, and it is an aggressive right of war. It's
I really
not
like
defensive.
that part.
It's really aggressive.
End times, isn't it? I really like that part in the book where it's a spoiler alert basically, because I'm up to date now on all the reading, and essentially, is it Keeler? I can't remember.
Euphrates Keeler.
Euphrates Keeler that has a big band of humans, refugees, they're all trying to get away.
Yeah.
Suddenly there's a World Eater band or something like that, and they come across them and they start charging towards them, and then out of nowhere, Sigismund and his sort of followers, I guess they are his followers, are they?
At that point, a load of them, and they're just. I think by that point in the siege, like all sort of unit coherency had fallen apart.
Yeah.
So it was the most zealous of the Imperial Fists.
Yeah.
Were starting to follow.
And go crashing straight into them. Absolutely loved it. It was so good. Kill the dirty traitors. What I like.
Yeah. Because he is an absolute beast, and I'm quite looking forward to getting on to talking about him.
Sorry, I derailed it a bit there.
Yeah, that's all right.
I just got excited.
It's a nice chat, and I mean, like, again, that's a really this is what this hobby's all about.
Yeah.
It's the background that really calls out to me, and
Yeah, you can really immerse yourself into the books. I'm sure everyone, listen. Hopefully, if you don't read the Heresy, I really sort of advise you to do it, and from the start, get is it Galaxy in Flames?
No. First is Horus Rising.
Horus Rising, yeah.
Yeah.
And then get Horus Rising and just start reading it. It's awesome. Even if you don't play the game, even if you haven't got the time to, paint. Some people don't. If people are very busy, they don't have the time to build, paint, or even play sometimes. But just getting immersed in the background of it is so awesome, I think.
Yeah.
And if you can, obviously play because it'd be better.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the first time I read Horus Rising, and it's this first line of Loken sitting there talking to the other Lunar Wolves, telling a story that begins with "I was there the day Horus slew the Emperor," and it's just like, that one line it gave me chills because it's such a subversive thing. We know that Horus doesn't kill the Emperor, and then even by the Siege of Terror, like that line goes full circle and it's delivered by someone else in a really impactful speech, and it's just the journey. All these quite interesting characters, and some of them, I say interesting, some of them just horrible. Like Erebus, hands down worst person in the 40k universe in the Horus Heresy.
It's his fault.
Without shadow of doubt, it's just annoying. But comic book villain level arsehole.
Absolutely.
But we're definitely getting
we're getting sidetracked, aren't we?
So
keep on point.
Yeah. So
Rights of War.
Rights of War. Templar assault. Yep. So I was saying you get the Templar Brethren as compulsory troops. Mm-hmm. But this also gives them line and Heart of the Legion.
Oh yeah, Heart of the
Legion. Which is, stubborn with near objectives and that 6 up fill pain. Which, is fantastic combination. So with, they've got 2 wounds, they've got artificer armour and power weapons as standard.
That's so
or
good,
power sword as standard, not power weapon.
Stubborn as well.
Specifically sword. Right. So they also get Rage 2. If they charge from an assault vehicle. Nice. So it really leans into, you take mass Templar Brethren, put them in Land Raiders or Spartans, and just absolutely yeet them at your opponent. Mm-hmm. Just go like, boom, have all these in your face this turn. Mm-hmm.
They're invulnerable save?
No. That's where they've got a bit of a downside in that respect. But I mean, they're weapon skill 5.
That's really good.
Yeah, they are a fantastic unit.
Wow.
And they can take Land Raiders as dedicated transports.
Well, we will talk about them.
Yeah.
After this.
But the Right of War itself it's very aggressive, and there's very few drawbacks. Mm-hmm. There's essentially you just have to take Templar Brethren.
You just don't see many people running it.
No. I mean, I tend to run it if I want to do a tank heavy army. Have some Templar Brethren in tanks and some Predators and Sicarans backing it up, and then you've got a very mobile force. Mm-hmm. But that's more like that works better as a narrative kind of
Yeah.
army rather than anything too strong, because obviously they're
You've
very
got to get into a
vulnerable.
sort, haven't you? And as you say, no vulnerable saves. So if they get hit hard, they're going to collapse.
They will. But and like I said, we'll go through that.
Yeah.
The other one that I've been using more recently is the Hammerfall Strike Force.
Right. Okay.
So this basically you can take phalanx warders as troops, and they get line, but they don't have to be your compulsory troops.
Right.
But what it does is any unit with the infantry type, and that includes independent characters, can take the deep strike special rule for 30 points.
Wow.
So tactical squads, deep strike, a heavy support squad of assault cannons, deep strike. They can all be put into a big deep strike assault, and if they do this, if they upgrade to get deep strike, and it's quite clear that they have to be upgraded to get it. So any unit with deep strike already doesn't get this bonus. They get shrouded 5+ until the beginning of their next turn.
That's good.
So they come down.
Yeah.
They've got shrouded from intercept.
Yep.
They've got shrouded from any return fire, and then they still have shrouded for the whole of the opponent's next turn.
That is so good because you don't have to spend any reaction points doing it.
No. So you've got that,
Wow.
so you can spend your reactions elsewhere.
Yeah.
And units that are say fearless. If you've got someone that causes a unit to be fearless and they deep strike and they get shrouded when normally they wouldn't be able to do it.
And equally, you're deep striking down and giving them on pin test all over the place, aren't you?
Exactly. So for like a massed deep strike assault, it's fantastic. Being able to like chuck despoilers down and then just charge with despoilers right where you want them. Really, really useful. The drawback to this is that any vehicle units, anything non-infantry, and I think dreadnoughts can start on the board as well. So it's just any vehicle units have to be deployed off the board. So they have to be in reserve.
Sure.
Right, and they can't come in with unless they've got deep strike. They can't come in with.
What's that reasoning then behind that?
I think it's meant to represent this being like a real rapid assault kind of thing, rather than an inbuilt.
Not combined as sort of like they come in, but the other one's on their way.
Yeah. I think it needs to have a bit of a drawback. So that's the Hammerfall, and I used that in the most recent Brighton Heresy.
Nice.
And it's great because you don't have to upgrade your whole army to have deep strike assault. You can just do a couple of choice units if you want. So you can go, I want to do this.
Yeah.
So that's the Hammerfall, and I'm looking forward to using that a little bit more and trying to work out ways to make it a bit more quite effective, because as you know, deep striking stuff can be a bit hit or miss, to use a terrible pun. But it's like with so many augury scanners and stuff to intercept.
Oh wow! I mean, I got
all it takes is someone to have a master of signal hidden, and then your whole deep strike is potentially coming in all over the place. Where you don't want
if you multiple unit, I mean, I think now I've learnt to just have one enormous unit, so I can't get affected too much by the disruptor array. Is it disruptor array that master signals have?
Yeah, the Vox disruptor.
Yeah, so I can't get affected by that really. So just come in, and then just roll lots of ones and Vulcan saves. But we won't talk about that.
I'm looking forward to hearing all about that after this. So and then that's 2 of the rights for. And now that brings me on to everyone's favourite, the Stone Gauntlet.
Hooray!
So this was my favourite Rite of War in the last edition.
That's why you keep using it.
That's
what your excuse.
Well, before this edition started, I already had 40 boarding marines, so I've got 4 10-man units or 2 20-man units. Because I've got extra sergeants and stuff.
They look cool.
Yeah, they just look cool. The idea is of just marines walking forward with shields.
Yeah.
And they were okay last edition. They were a bit naff, whereas now
they weren't very good.
They've now got a little bit of a points drop compared to last time, and 5+ invulnerable save. Yeah. So the Stone Gauntlet says that any model with a boarding shield that is in coherency with at least 2 other models with a boarding shield can re-roll their invulnerable saves, which is.
So it's just for boarding shields, isn't it?
Well, the wording of it is any model in coherency with other models. So if a model has a boarding shield and they're in coherency with 2 other models with boarding shields, then they may re-roll their invulnerable saves, which means you've got weird little loopholes where if you take like a Praetor who comes with an Iron Halo originally and you give them a boarding shield, they can re-roll their 4+ invulnerable save from the board from the Iron Halo.
Re-roll your 3+ invulnerable save.
There is a way of doing that.
Oh God.
But
my
you
God.
have to. It is honestly some of the
Wow.
gamiest things. It feels like
I'm loving it.
It feels like they didn't because it says they've got if they have a boarding shield,
Yeah.
then they re-roll their invulnerable saves.
Right.
Normally, it will be the invulnerable save will be coming from the boarding shield.
Yes.
But there are other ways of doing that. So,
Yes.
for example, phalanx warders. There's when we go into the unit sort of stuff,
Yeah.
I will explain all about
Yeah,
them
of course.
they're horrible. But so yeah, that
So
this
the Rite of
basically-
War.
Rite of War, it
Yeah.
encourages massed boarding marines.
Yeah.
So you get a reroll on all invulnerable saves if they're armed with boarding shields, and you have to take phalanx warders as your compulsory troops.
Right.
But again, like the Templar Brethren Assault, they get Heart of the Legion and Line.
Okay.
And phalanx warders are one of the most resilient units in the game already. Being able to re-roll their invulnerable saves, and then have an apothecarian sit on an objective for a 4-up feel no pain as well, thanks to Heart of the Legion. I mean, people are shooting them, and it's like a 4-up invulnerable re-rolling with a 4-up feel no pain.
So the 4-up invulnerable.
Because
is
phalanx warders, if
phalanx
they're
warders.
phalanx warders, if they're in base contact, they get +1. So they have a 4-up invulnerable if they're played well.
Right.
Like touching base to base, so it's a 4-up invulnerable save, which is re-rollable, and then a 4-up feel no pain. It just makes it.
The phalanx
really
warders are
hard.
the special unit.
Yeah, they're a special unit, but they have to be compulsory troops in the.
And what are they armed with?
So they armed just with a bolt gun, bolt pistol, boarding shield, and a power axe each.
Bloody hell,
As
everything.
standard, yeah. But they're only in
Jesus.
power armor, and they've only got 1 attack and 1 wound.
However,
So
once they're together,
once they're together, it doesn't matter that they've only got 1 wound because they're so hard to
it's
ship.
the +1 invulnerable to be next to each other.
Yep.
And because they're next to each other, they re-roll it.
Yeah. So they've got to be in base contact for the +1 to their invulnerable.
Yeah.
And this applies to attached characters as well.
Yes.
So yeah,
Crikey.
having a unit like phalanx warders as your compulsory troops in the army,
That's so good.
it just means that you can just have essentially an army of.
Are they super expensive?
They're not massively.
Wow.
They're 225 points for 10.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, so you could spend like 600 points and have like 3 units.
3 massive
and,
units.
Straight off the bat, just boom, boom, boom. That's your core troops.
Oh.
Really nice.
Wow.
And then you can build stuff around it.
Yes, sure.
So it's got that's what makes it really strong is having those units just walk onto an objective and go, we're not going to die.
No.
Why bother shooting us? I mean, I've had someone shoot a Typhon, the big siege tank that is just obnoxious with brutal 4, a unit of phalanx warders, and after all the rolling and re-rolling, he killed 2.
Yeah, that's mad.
It's just
That's
he
madness.
got like 10 hits,
Yeah.
killed 2 guys.
Yeah, it's
When it
crazy.
should be wiping the squad. Normally.
Yeah, for sure.
But
And the sorry, in the feel no pain.
Yeah.
I know obviously if it doubles you out, you don't get it.
that's
But like on the feel no pain, so you start with a 5-up, and how do they get a 4-up?
so Heart of the Legion gives a 6-up feel no pain.
Yeah.
But if you already have feel no pain, it adds +1 to your
+1, right.
existing feel no pain.
Amazing.
So if you attach apothecaries to units and then put them near an objective, you get a 4-up feel no pain.
That's so hard to get rid of, isn't it?
Yeah. Which is great, and it's the spoiler squads and tactical squads normally have it.
Yes, Heart of Legion. Yeah.
But it seems to be like really luckily the Imperial Fists, their sort of Rites of War gain those compulsory
I get
units.
it. I do get
to
it because obviously, as I said before earlier, they are supposed to be stoic, and their whole job is to hold the line.
Yeah.
Um,
But unfortunately, it does. Once again, this almost pushes it back into a version 1 way of playing that it is so boring.
Yeah.
Because it's literally just I'm going to move on to an objective and
That's
just
it.
try not to die.
Yeah.
They've got power axes, but they're not actually that.
Are they stubborn?
No, they're not stubborn.
So you've got to get in there.
Well, if they're near the objective, Heart of the Legion gives them stubborn.
Right.
So again, it's that really this is just a unit that is just really difficult.
You have to hit them. I think with things are going to double them out, and lots of attacks, so you can just kill loads of them. Who's going to do that?
Or snipers.
Snipers are good.
If
Yeah,
you
kill
use-
that apothecary. Yeah.
Yeah, kill the apothecary, or with snipers, if you start shooting the guys on the ends, they only get their rerollable invulnerable save, and it won't be a 4-up because they're not in base contact with 2
Sure.
models. If you can see isolated models, a lot of the time people who play this Rite of War, they can end up being quite lazy and make mistakes. And once you start taking out individual models, you can actually cause the whole unit to lose their special rules.
Yeah.
So
And they can be pinned. Just
they can. It's
yeah.
not-
So
yeah.
and leadership 8, and they're all leadership 8 than that.
Leadership 8. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, if you shoot out the sergeant, I would shoot out the apothecary, shoot out the sergeant, try and pin them.
Yeah. but they are really, really tough.
Yeah.
It does have the right war does have some really strong drawbacks. So you can't put anything into a deep strike assault, flanking assault, or subterranean assault. So you can't.
That's actually quite good. That makes sense. I like that.
It means that this is it. It's a massed amount of boarding marines.
This is us,
and they have to be there and moving forward. So there's no sort of you've got no tricks. You've got no ace up your sleeve. It's very much this is my army. This is what's going in front of you. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Which is why I can see why it's got the reputation it has, because it is frustrating to
But that said, you can't deep strike assault.
No.
So that is, I think, quite important, because yes, people hate it, but would you hate it more if then you had 10 Terminators and Rogal Dawn in your face, conga lining and charging you?
That kind of stuff, it would just make it.
You would hate it more, wouldn't you?
Beyond broken.
So, yeah.
But I mean,
so it's a good restriction.
There are things I'd like to change about it just to make it a bit more fun and balanced.
Yeah.
I mean, we can get onto that later when we get to the whole what I'd like to change stuff.
Yeah, no worries.
So yeah, they're the 3 rights of war.
Awesome. All right. Okay, so done the rights of war, and then briefly talked about, and we had to stop, didn't we, because we're getting into it a bit too much, but Legion specific units.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, how many have they got anyway?
So they've got 2 Legion specific units in the main rulebook.
Yep.
And then they've also got, like all the other legions, one from the exemplary battles.
So you've got 3 Legion specific units.
3 Legion specific
Most
units.
legions probably have that, I think, don't they? Yeah.
And like Templar Brethren are my favourite.
Yeah.
Like, hands down, just really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They've all got weapon skill 5. They've all got power swords as standard, and artificer armor, 2 wounds.
Yeah.
And they're 150 points for 5, so they're fairly cheap, low for what they do. I would say anything in power armor, even other sort of Legion specific sort of, like those assault units, those really dedicated melee units, if they're in power armor, the Templar Brethren will walk through them.
Yes.
They also have Furious Charge.
And their weapon skill 5.
Their weapon skill 5 and Furious Charge, so they are often hitting on 3s, but then wounding on 3s as well if they get the charge. And they have 2 attacks basic with combat weapons as well, with bolt pistol combat weapons. So that's 3 attacks standard, 4 each on the charge.
That's so good, isn't it?
If you whack them in that Templar Assault Rite of War, that's 5 attacks each on the charge.
So even if there's 2-3 of them, it's still a threat.
Yeah, so a 5-man unit looks like it's not very much trouble, but suddenly that's 25 attacks if they're coming out of a Land Raider, hitting on 3s. They will walk through tactical squads like it's butter. And
this is what I like about the new edition. The fact that the weapon skill is
it's
I
a
really
massive
like it.
thing. Yeah.
Because I have to play 40k. And in the 40k, I really hate. I didn't want to talk about it much, but we'll talk about it quickly.
Yeah.
I really hate their weapon skill in 40k because they have a standard stat line. So it's like if I'm weapon skill 2, I hit on 2s.
Yeah.
So if you're fighting a custode, you hit it on 2s, which is insane.
Yeah, there's no balance between one model being quite good in combat and another one also being good.
That's right.
They just hit each other really easily.
Exactly.
Whereas actually in the Heresy, it's a lot more reflective of, if you're good in combat, then you are actually harder to hit.
Yeah.
Whereas previously it was like, it was always like hitting on 3s against, or 4s against other guys.
Exactly.
But now it's like hitting on 5s.
And it's really good because when you roll weapon skill 5, you're like, I'm the boss, I'm really good.
Yeah.
Up comes a weapon skill 6 person and goes, really?
Fuck you. Exactly. And it
I
really
love that.
does. It makes makes Praetors really
Yeah.
feel good. Whereas previously, even like they were weapon skill 6, even though like they were always like
Didn't
that,
matter, did
it
it?
now feels a lot better.
Yeah.
And they're a lot harder to hit.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Templar Brethren against anything sort of like power armored, they are fantastic. The minute they start coming up against anything in artificer armor or with an invulnerable save, they just kind of they bounce. They don't really have the punch because
Did you say they got power axes or
no power swords.
Power swords.
They
right.
can own. They all come with power swords, not weapons. Power swords.
Sure.
And you can upgrade the sergeant. So the sergeant can have.
They breach 6+, do they? Those
No,
ones?
they've got rending 6 up on power swords.
Yep.
But again, you're holding out for 6s, and they're not doubling things out.
They got a lot of attacks though.
Yeah, a lot of
So
attacks.
they'll get
And
some.
there's been times when as John will attest to this, I've charged his unit of tyrants, the siege terminators, with his Praetor, and I've gone in with a load of Templars and just done so many wounds. He's just like, I can't save that many, and just making someone take like massed armor saves, and that's the only way to do it. But you can give the sergeant a solo right power gauntlet or a thunder hammer.
Oh, that's so good.
And yeah, you can also give like a couple of models in the squad a Archaeotech pistol for 5 points,
They're quite good, aren't they?
which are they're rending 3 plus,
rending 3 plus.
which is really funny when
It's
you
only
say
one shot.
it's
pretty
one
sure,
shot. But when you say to someone's like, I'm going to shoot your Leviathan Dreadnought with a pistol, and
Yeah.
they go, here, right, it's like rending 3 up, there you go, making a vulnerable save.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, it's
Yeah.
like a nice little, it's very circumstantial, like
Yes.
it's got to be used now and again, but really useful. So, I think they're a really interesting unit. Background-wise, they're fantastic, they're really cool. And the fact that you can build a Rite of War, you can build your army around them as your core,
Are they
it
black
makes it
armoured,
really
though?
interesting.
Are they yellow still?
See, now this is where it starts becoming a little bit
Because
complicated.
at the moment,
Because
we're getting towards that, aren't we?
yeah, they mine are all painted yellow.
Yeah.
They're all
I think
painted
that's
yellow
the-
with
I think that's
white
the right-
because they look more
Right,
interesting.
yeah.
It was when Ford Road released the kit for them, they put out their official colour scheme as black with yellow shoulder pads.
Yeah.
But I've always kind of ignored that because personally, I don't like them being black until after the heresy.
Yeah,
And
and
they
second founding makes sense, but like during the heresy,
Yeah.
why would they paint their army, black? Like,
No.
I get we're talking about the zealous followers of Sigismund, but
Yeah.
like,
And
still,
even Sigismund, his armour has been portrayed as yellow in all of the books
Yeah.
up until the Siege of Terror, where suddenly he's wearing black as well,
Mhm.
and there's no kind of reference to it, unless
Yeah.
I've missed something, which
Yeah.
is plausible. But
yeah, if we've missed anything, comment
yeah,
and tell us what we've missed. That'll be good.
yeah. But I mean, in the old background, it was Sigismund before he was declared Emperor's champion was taken in by the chaplains, and they painted his armour black to represent him being close to like an instrument of the Emperor.
Yeah.
Which has always been really cool. That it was this real specific. He got to this point where he was seen as this champion of the Emperor to go forth and slay champions.
Yeah.
That he then got that. But no, up until this point, I think as long as you paint them interestingly,
Yeah.
then and very distinctly different than
And well.
anything. And well, yeah, there is that.
We just.
I mean, I like to convert them, so I've converted every single one to look almost like an individual character.
Yeah.
So
I know your painting's awesome, and we're going to go on to that later.
But so that's the Templars. Then you've got the Phalanx Warders, everyone's favourite with the Stone Gauntlet. So they're the ones that become the compulsory troops.
Yes, we talked about that.
So they've got 2 special rules.
Right.
So one of them gives them +1 invulnerable save if they're in base contact.
Yep.
This also goes to any other attached characters.
Right.
So if you attach a character with a boarding shield, they also get their +1 to their invulnerable save. So for example, like you've got a Praetor, and he has an Iron Halo, and you give him a boarding shield. When he's in base contact with the Phalanx Warders, he gets +1 to his invulnerable saves. That's the wording of it.
Which gives him what?
Means he gets a 3-up invulnerable save.
Right.
Which, in the Stone Gauntlet, is rerollable.
So what if he had one of those? Can't remember what you called them.
The
shields.
Vigil pattern.
Vigil pattern.
You can't. There's no way of taking the 2, but it's very clear in the rules that it's to a maximum of 3.
Right, I was going to say because that would be horrendous.
If you could get, trust me, if there was a way to get a 2+ rerollable invulnerable save, I would have done it just to see the look on my friends' faces of just when they think I couldn't get any lower as a human being, I've managed to get a 2-up rerollable invulnerable save.
Oh god!
And no more games again. No one would want to play me.
I would do it.
Just But yeah, they're a filthy unit. Like I said before, they come with a bolt pistol, bolter, and power axe as standard.
I mean, a 3-up rerollable invulnerable save is bonkers.
But luckily, it's only characters.
It's only a character, but
so
you can attach 3 characters with all the same kit,
to one
can't you?
unit. Yeah.
Oh my god, that is a Death Star, isn't it?
Yeah,
Imagine
it's
that.
mean. It's really mean.
Wow.
An Apothecary was a Tech Marine with a Cyber Familiar.
Yeah.
So that gives them a +1 to their invulnerable save. Then the +1 as well. So give them a boarding shield and that they've got a 3-up. But the problem with that, it starts becoming very expensive.
Yeah, but
and
Death Stars are
boring.
expensive.
Yeah, and I don't particularly like playing
Yeah.
too much like that. I mean, yeah, you can do it, and now and again for really hardball competitive events and games, I will do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But they do have drawbacks. So they're only weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4.
Oh, okay.
They're in power armor rather than artificer armor,
Yeah.
and they only have 1 wound.
Yes.
They are a fast attack choice, which is quite nice.
Wow, fast attack? That's very strange.
It's weird. Yeah, it's really weird. But I mean, that's nice because then they're not competing with elites or like heavy support or anything. they're fast attack,
Oh, I see.
but they're also heavy, like normal boarding marines.
Right.
So they're fast
That's
attack,
very weird.
but they can't run, so they're not fast.
Yeah.
It's just
It
like,
feels
it
like they've
boggles
just
my
gone,
mind.
well, let's just make you have extra elites and
Yeah, essentially.
other slots.
It's like they don't compete
Probably
with
should
the
have
elite.
been a heavy shot slot,
I
really.
mean, heavy or just elite. They
Yeah.
would have. They're competing with things like Contemptors, Terminators, Templars. I think that would have made
Fair
them.
enough.
Yeah. But that means they've also got that other special rule that I was telling you about. So they've got the one that increases their invulnerable save, but they've also got a rule that if they are charged, they get a +1 weapon skill for the turn that they're charged. So as a defensive unit, again, this applies to any attached characters.
Oh my god.
So their weapon skill 4 normally, you put a Praetor with them and then they get charged. Your Praetor is suddenly weapon skill 7.
Wow.
So he's going to be able to take on other Praetors.
And are they called Castellans, or is that a different unit type?
Again, with all sort of every legion has different kind of.
Because I know obviously with the
So the
Armorers are Warsmiths, aren't they?
So the term Castellan has been used to refer to sort of, it's a Black Templar thing that came from the Imperial Fists.
Right.
And when this edition came out, they got a Legion-specific consul who is a Castellan.
Oh, so it's a consul rather than Praetor.
Yeah, and
Fair enough.
I'll get onto that
That's
after the actual Legion units.
Yep.
But it's like they tend to use things like Lord Castellan, or they have marshals. It's again, with every Legion, different idiosyncratic sort of titles for the different consuls and different Praetor, respect, like depending on their rank and what their actual job is in the Legion.
Yeah.
So you can come up with any kind of like seneschal, like for example, Sigismund is High Marshal of the Templar Brethren.
Yeah.
Whereas Fafnir Ran is Seneschal.
Seneschal, yeah. Yeah, no,
So
it's
it's
cool.
all the sort of medieval
It's interesting.
kind of. Yeah. I mean, again, Imperial Fists, their background is very similar to sort of Germanic and Teutonic knights.
Yeah.
They're not like Crusaders. They're more like very Teutonic, which is where you can take if you give them sort of like Germanic sounding names, then you can come up with really cool names for your characters and stuff.
Seneschal, is that a Rammstein album?
I don't know.
I can't remember the song.
It's the wouldn't surprise me if it's saying that. But so yeah, that's what the Phalanx Warders are. They're a really good unit.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah.
But again, being in power armor,
Yeah.
you hit them with Volkite, like a Volkite heavy support squad, and they'll just get.
I mean, everything dies to Volcano Sports, doesn't it? Though.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So they're the two that are in the main book, and then the Exemplary Battles squad are the Huskarls. So these are a 0-1 choice, and they are HQ.
Oh right.
Which is interesting. So it's an HQ unit of Terminators. So they can be taken as a squad in their own right as an HQ choice.
Cool.
Or they can be taken as a retinue. So you've got like a Praetor or anything like that. Yeah. So this is a weapon skill 5 Terminator squad.
That's good already.
That come with power weapons. So it just says power weapon as models.
Yep.
You can give them axes, swords, lance maces.
Maul.
I give them a couple of mauls now.
I like mauls.
Yeah.
They're great.
Rule of cool. They look really cool.
Cool.
A Terminator with a power maul just looks like badass.
I'm pretty sure. Are they +2 strength?
+2 strength, AP3 rending.
Rending. That's all right, aren't they?
So they can actually bonk stuff. And they come with power weapon, vigil pattern, storm shield, and deep strike as standard. Cool. So yeah, they're also stubborn.
That's good.
So yeah, they're not cheap. They're 275 for 5.
Yeah, that's about right for Terminator.
Yeah, you look at Justarian, it's the same points.
Yeah.
You look at what is it? The Fire Drakes, 300.
Fire Drakes might be 275.
Okay.
But once you give them weapons,
once you actually do that, yeah.
Yeah, they end up.
So yeah, they're fairly limited on their options. So they come with power weapons, and any model can upgrade a power weapon to a Solar Power Gauntlet for 10 points.
That is well worth it.
So you can give them but you can't give them Thunder Hammers. So you can't give them anything with Brutal, you can't give them Chain Fists, but I mean, with Strength 10 AP1, you don't necessarily need Chain Fists. So,
I mean, yeah, if you backline them against vehicles, they're just destroyed.
Yeah, and
even a small squad. Horrible.
Yeah, they can be absolutely fantastic against vehicles. You can multi-charge vehicles, get
exactly,
a couple of hits in, and they just start exploding.
Yeah.
They have, like I said, they've got stubborn. They're Leadership 9, so they're
good. Some Leadership 9's great.
Yeah, stubborn Leadership 9, really solid in that respect. But they don't have a massive amount of attacks, so they are more of a defensive, like solid, hard to kill unit. So even the sergeant only has 2 attacks. So
Right.
the whole squad has 2 attacks across the board.
Okay.
But they do also have a special rule that if they are charged, on the turn that they're charged, if they're not already engaged in combat, then they get a battle hardened 1.
Right.
Which means they are counted as toughness 5.
Yeah.
So you're hitting
That's
them. You need strength 10 to start doubling them out.
That is so good.
So if you charge them and you start hitting them with power fists, they're only strength 8 against the toughness 5. You're not doubling them out, whereas they're hitting back with solar gauntlets, which is strength 10, which will definitely double out normal range.
battle hardened is one of those things that I think gets forgotten about. Because there's not many units that have battle hardened. It's mainly characters, isn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, it means they can take like a dreadnought, the Gravis Power Fist, with the Brutal 3.
Yeah.
It means you have to make 3 invulnerable saves, 3 up. And the amount of times you just stand and go, all 3 is fine. And if you fail one of them, it's only strength 9, you take a wound. It doesn't actually double them out.
So only wounds 2 each, I imagine, yeah.
So defensively, they are fantastic.
Wow.
And they don't compete with normal Terminators or any other elites because they're HQ. They are an 0-1, but then as a retinue unit, if you want to build that Death Star like you do, they are fantastic. And
take 10 of them.
You can take 10 of them.
Happy days.
Yeah, and as I
said,
said,
decay
come with Deep Strike. So in the most recent Brighton Heresy, I took 10 of them in a Hammerfall army anyway. So they were coming down with other stuff. Yeah. And Rogel Dawn, who has Deep Strike.
I mean,
and he just sits with them and is like, he's got a load of guys with 3 invulnerable saves and. Yeah.
What are you going to do against that? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but they are expensive, so they're 50 points per model after the initials. So if you want a 10-man unit with Solar Gauntlets, it starts really adding up.
They die. You shoot them with las cannons and stuff. And it's just you. Okay, you got 1 invulnerable save, but then they're doubling them out because they don't get back hardened because they're not in combat today. So
no, I mean this is the thing about 2-up saves. If you can make 2-up saves, units like that are fantastic.
Yeah.
Whereas if you can't, as I discovered in that game against the Alpha Legion, I had to make 16 2-up armor saves, and I rolled 9 ones.
Awesome.
And it's just like, great. Yeah. I've spent all this points to then lose that many models on Overwatch. One guy had already taken the wound, so that's 5 Huskarls just gone. Straight away, nothing you can do about it. 250 points from a Punisher cannon. Wow. Doesn't even have any AP. It's like, oh, great.
Oh, dear.
Fucking great.
No AP as well.
No AP. But they are a fantastic unit.
Wow. No, that's awesome. That is really interesting.
Yeah, and I really recently converted up and painted up a unit to be specifically them.
Cool.
So yeah, they're the 3 Legion specific units.
Yeah.
The Imperial Fists also get a Legion specific console.
Oh yeah.
In terms of the Castellan. So this is not just an honorary title; it is actually a specific console upgrade, and it's only 20 points. So it's a really cheap console upgrade. And he can take either a mastercrafted heavy bolter, mastercrafted autocannon, or a mastercrafted Iliastus assault cannon. Again, you got to pay respective points for that. He has a special rule that when firing a heavy weapon, just him, doesn't apply to anyone else, it's just him, when he fires a heavy weapon, he gains an additional shot.
Oh, that's good.
So I've got a Castellan with a mastercrafted autocannon, big old belt feed on him, and that turns it into a heavy 3. And being a character, he's got Relentless, so you can just walk around, chug.
Hitting on 2s, even in night fight, you get +1 to hit, auto weapons.
Yeah. And what he brings to the army is he allows line, he gives line to heavy support squads.
Oh my god.
Which is really good. So,
good.
It's not like a warlord trait where if the warlord is removed, you no longer have this bonus. Yeah. It says if you include a Castellan in the detachment, all heavy support squads get line.
Well, there we are.
And that's it. So once it's dead, they've still got line because they had it at the beginning. And there's nothing that says they lose it.
Yeah. Similar, yeah.
Same as if like a model grants deep strike.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't. It doesn't just disappear.
Yeah, I get it.
So that's the Castellan. He's quite restricted in what weapons he can take. So he's much more of a support. Yeah. Shooting character. Can't take power fist. Can't take solo
precision shot from that.
Nothing like that.
That would be insane.
It would be ridiculous. But no, he's still a console.
Yeah, he's still
so
good.
you chuck him down, and again, like stun gauntlet armies. If you take a Castellan, you can take like a couple of heavy support squads, which sit at the back of the board with line.
And with your
with the Siege Chthonian missions now being used a lot, line is so important because they're all objective based.
Yeah, I like objective based missions somewhat.
Yeah. So that's the Legion specific console. So would this be a good time to maybe talk about special characters, or do you want to wait for like talking about with?
Yes, probably talk about them. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, because if we're going to move on to like
we've got the big lad in a minute.
Yeah, so I'll build up to him. So
okay, cool. Yeah.
So Imperial Fists have actually got 4 special characters.
Oh God.
Each of them have a model from Forge World now as well.
That's good.
So
that's probably why.
I'm absolutely spoiled for choice. I cannot complain at all about how many models we've got in that regard. Unfortunately, all of them seem to be really good in combat and really hard to kill. So very, very in keeping with how boring and bland the Imperial Fists seem. They are, each of them, they're kind of boring, but really good, and I cannot complain. And the 3 that come in the main rulebook, they actually fit the 3 rights of war very specifically, which is really nice. Like there's this synergy that works beautifully. So.
Well done, Games Workshop.
Yeah, they've actually. I think, like Imperial Fists in the first edition, they were okay. Yeah. But very boring.
Yeah,
didn't have much
love.
And they've now got so much love. It's almost a joke.
Yeah. Every time they're Ultramarines from 40k.
Oh, completely. They are the poster boys, and it's become a joke where it's every Heresy Thursday. We're like, what Imperial Fist unit is going to be showed off this week? And it's a bit like it starts to get a bit embarrassing when. We already had all this stuff, and then the Siege of Chthonian came out. It was like, congratulations, have 2 more Warlord traits, have another character. Oh look, have some special weapons. You needed these. It starts.
Where's the Salamander love?
Yeah, where are the Iron Hand special
Raven
characters?
Guard.
Yeah, so
where's everyone else?
Hopefully, moving forward,
let's hope
for them.
We'll see.
Yeah, so special character wise, we've got the 3 in the main book. So starting with my favourite, Sigismund. He is an absolute beast. Like, there's no 2 ways about it. He's probably one of the only Marines that can go toe-to-toe with a Primarch. I mean, he's not going to last forever, but he's got 4 up invulnerable save. He has Eternal Warrior. He's got a Mastercraft. It's not Mastercraft. He's got a like a really good Power Sword. So it's like a Paragon Blade, but it's +2 strength instead of +1. AP2, and causes instant death. So it's not even Murder Strike, it's just instant death.
You track them into a Wordbearer unit like Galvorback.
Yeah,
they are a problem, and you're just going to murder that unit, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Terminators as well. You roll fail a Terminator save. You think you're okay with 2 wounds. Oh no, you're starting to lose 2 free Terminators, aren't you?
Yeah. And his weapon skill 7. So against other Marines, he is already head and shoulders above.
Yeah.
4 wounds, 4 attacks. 2 up, 4 up. He's fearless, as if you needed anything else.
That's great for units, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So he's already, not only is he really, really strong in combat, he gives something to the unit he's with. If you kill your opponent's Warlord in a challenge, you get +1 victory point for the rest of the game, which is fantastic. Just nice, like on top of Warlord, you get 1 little victory point. And also, he gives you 2 inches to all charges. So extra 2 inches. Wow. Just to him and the unit he's with, but it's an extra 2. So if you get to use him, say, with the best defence, that's an additional 2 inches to his roll.
So, so 10, you're going to get anyone, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Anyone who comes within 10 inches, you've got 4, because obviously it's the lowest leadership.
So they come within 10, so an 8.
Yeah, so you get a D6. So the minimum is, you've got a minimum 7. So if they're within 7 inches, then you're guaranteed to hit them with Sigismund.
So you can do it when they're 10. You can activate you
within 10 inches,
and he gets +2. So you've only got to roll an 8, haven't you?
Yeah. And the thing is, it's 1d6. It's not 2d6. It's 1d6, and you add the initiative. So it's a minimum of 4 because it's the lowest initiative in the squad.
So you got
he gets +2 to that, which is 6, and then you always get 1 on the d6, no matter what. So you're always at a minimum of a 7. Wow. Anything over that.
Jesus.
Yeah. So for that, the best defence, he's fantastic. And to aid him, as if he needs any more help, to take out enemy characters, he's got a special rule that when he is in a challenge, successful invulnerable saves have to be re-rolled.
That's
so
nasty.
He goes in, he strikes at initiative 5, he's hitting most people on 3s, and then you have to make your invulnerable saves, and if you pass any of them, they have to be
And then
re-rolled.
instant
And if you
death.
fail a single one, it's instant death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that is
Yeah.
bonkers.
I mean-
you can only stand up to him with a Primarch.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone else beats him.
Even then, not all Primarchs can do it.
Yeah.
I've killed Alfarius with him. In
Alfarius, so
a
come on.
number of times, which is just funny. It's just like not just once,
Yeah,
a number of
Alfarius,
times
like,
now.
yeah.
But yeah, I get, like you go in with a decent squad and you've got Sigismund against a Primarch, he will whittle them down.
Yeah.
And the fact he has Eternal Warrior,
Which is insane.
so he's got 4 wounds, Eternal Warrior, so he gets hit by a Power Fist, boom, 1 wound.
Yeah.
Boom, 1 wound. So
Wow, he's very good.
he's very good and fits really nicely with the Templar Assault Rite of War, where you want to throw everything at your opponent, you know? Hands down, just straight get in there.
Absolute beast.
Yeah. Next up is Alexis Pollux.
Yep.
So he is, again, a really tough character,
Yep.
who's hard to kill, and he's really good in combat. So he's he's like a Praetor. So he's a bit of a boost from the last edition, because he used to only have power armor. Now he's got artificer armor.
Yeah.
He has Deep Strike,
Yep.
a mastercrafted Solarite Power Gauntlet, which has an inbuilt combi melter,
He's got a shield as well, hasn't he?
and he's got a Vigil Pattern Storm Shield. You can also grant 1 unit in the army he's with Deep Strike.
Nice.
So you want to take a Hammerfall Rite of War,
Yeah.
and then you've upgraded 1 unit with him for free to give him Deep Strike, just saving 30 points.
Yeah.
He also has Deep Strike himself, so he can come down with those units without having to worry.
Yeah.
And again, you suddenly got someone with Strength 10 AP1 in your face.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's like, again, bit of a beat stick.
Yeah.
Doesn't really add much to the army other than that. He does have a redeployment move as part of his Warlord trait. So you can take something out of reserve or put it into reserve.
Nice.
Or you can move 1 unit in your deployment zone.
Cool.
Which is, really, he's like this master tactician.
Yeah, that's quite good.
Yeah, so whereas you've got someone like Sigismund, who is very hot-headed, very focused, like, I'm going to like get into combat and be this
Kill
champion.
champions. Yeah.
No, Pollux is a lot more, tactical, deep strike. It really rewards that 3-dimensional play of, you can move stuff around in your deployment zone and then deep strike where you want later. It's quite malleable. So it's
Nice.
Yeah. So he's fantastic as well. Then you also have Fafnir Ran, who is like, he's an assault captain. So he's got a boarding shield. He's got a pair of power axes, which is a bit weird. He's got a shield and 2
Two
axes.
axes, a shield.
But I think
On his back, obviously.
yeah,
Spins
now
around.
he can just he's one of those people that was like a fan favourite in the Black Library series.
Yeah.
Like he's Sigismund's friend.
I think he's...
Whereas Sigismund is cold and calculating, and Ran is much more bellicose, much more loud, aggressive, and some people don't even really see him as much of an Imperial Fist. He's so aggressive in that respect. Like,
Is his coat of arms essentially 2 axes?
it's the twin axes.
And is that like a Imperial Fist successor chapter?
Yes. So he went on to create the Executioners.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, who, funnily enough, ended up siding with the bad guys in the
Not in the Badab, but God.
in the Badab War. They're the Imperial Fist successors, but they owed...
Paul Lamenters I always find...
the Lamenters. But
Lamenters got
the Executioners, they basically they got dragged into the Badab War because they owed the Astral Claws.
Yeah.
And once they realised what the Astral Claws were doing, they just were like, you know what, we've agreed to help you for honour, but we're not your fucking friends, and barely spoke to them, barely communicated, and first opportunity, they're like, we've achieved what we wanted to achieve, and they surrendered and were barely punished.
I think Astral Claws, Tiger, then it went to Tiger Claws, then it went to the Red Corsairs, didn't it?
Yeah.
We are getting sidetracked big time here.
Yeah, but
we're
it's fine.
leaping out.
This is great. But Fafnir Ram, game wise, he's got a pair of axes, shield. Again, he's got a boarding shield and an iron halo. So you put him with Phalanx Warders. He's got that 3-up rerollable invulnerable save, which is great.
That's very good.
And he can use his axes in different ways.
All right.
So he can either use them as a pair of axes and get an extra attack, like with Rampage.
Makes sense.
So he gets like extra attacks.
Chopping them.
And they strike at initiative. The AP2 strike at initiative.
Initiative 5.
Initiative 5, yeah. They're not got like murderous strike or anything. They're not like a Paragon Blade. They're just AP2. But having AP2 at initiative,
5 attacks, I guess.
Yeah, is quite rare. Or you can use it as a combined shield and single axe, in which case he gets +1 toughness. Nice. So essentially, he can have battle hardened. Wow. So if you attacks going against him, he's toughness 5. And that makes him a lot more, once again, good in combat and bloody survivable.
This gets
So
hit by
starting
Samurai
to see,
Gauntlet.
yeah, starting to see a theme.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he fits really nicely in with the Stone Gauntlet Rite of War.
Yeah.
Where yeah, it's starting to seem that way, but specifically, boarding marines, squads, and phalanx warders in an army that he's in, on the turn that they charge, get +1 weapon skill.
Nice.
So suddenly those phalanx warder squads,
so good,
they get +1 weapon skill if they're charged, and they get +1 weapon skill if they charge.
They are good.
So he makes a Stone Gauntlet army absolutely
7th Legion
terrifying.
are.
They're spoiled for choice.
They are really spoiled for choice.
I can't like complain too much.
No, absolutely not. No, I don't think anyone can. But it's good. I mean, it's good.
Then they also have this character Evander Garius.
I don't know much of him.
Yeah, he's in the Siege of Cathonia.
Yeah.
And he's been sent to Cathonia by Dawn, and he's kind of exiled because he doesn't really fit in with the Imperial Fists way.
Sure.
He's a bit too aggressive.
Yeah.
He's a bit too ready to like let the casualties mount up. Like he's all the worst sides of the Imperial Fists.
Fair enough.
Exemplified.
All right.
And he has he's got brutal 2 power fists.
Yeah.
He's in Terminator armor.
Yeah.
So he's got 2 up, 4 up, and again his toughness 5. So good in combat, hard to kill. Typical Imperial Fist character. I don't know very much about him because I haven't used him and I haven't actually got the model yet.
Fair enough.
But yeah, at some point I think it will be something I'll look into a bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So
awesome.
they're all the special characters.
Love it. Cool. Well, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let's next the big lad.
Yeah, the big man himself. Good old
Big guy.
Rogel Dawn. So Rogel Dawn is an absolute monster. Like this edition, he is like really, really solid when it comes to like army composition. So he gives +1 leadership to all characters in the army. So anyone that's a character gets +1. So it's not the whole army, but if you've got sergeants in your units, they go up to leadership 9 rather than 8. And also you get +1 to all the combat resolutions in your army. So if you're in combat, any combat in the army in your game will get +1 to their combat.
That's great, isn't it?
Which is great. I mean, that doesn't stack with Exillas because it says this doesn't stack with other stuff.
Yeah.
But as a force multiplier, he's fantastic. He comes with Deep Strike as standard, so you can join units, Deep Strike in, without having to worry about like a Warmonger or anything like that, like other Primarchs do.
Yeah.
And he has 7 wounds. So
7 wounds.
7 wounds. So yeah, he's like obviously normal Primarch stats.
How is
toughness
that
6 is 7
for like
wounds.
Rogel Dawn?
Yeah,
think it would.
It's just the fact that he won't die, and it reflects like Mortarian's toughness 7. So you know that kind of some of the other Primarchs. If you look at all the Primarchs, their stats kind of vary slightly.
Yeah, of course.
But he's also weapon skill 8 because he's meant to be this master swordsman who is like he practices all the time. So he's weapon skill 8, and against other Primarchs that means he's normally hitting them on 3s unless they're also really high up there. He does just have a chainsword, so it's not like a really like incredible, like it's not like a really good Thunderhammer. It hasn't got like brutal 2, but
however,
it is still a chainsword. So it has shred.
Yeah.
It's AP 2 and gives him +2 strength. So he goes up to strength 8 basic.
Yeah.
And it has murderous strike 6. So on 6s it causes instant
So you're
death.
going to get a few, aren't you?
Yeah. Now you add that with the fact that he has Furious Charge 2. On the turn that he charges, he is strength 10, AP 2, shred.
Jesus.
Yeah. So he's really quite effective. Like in combat, weapon skill 8, 6 attacks normally, 7 on the charge.
Yeah, he is
again in combat, absolute monster. He's also got the rule that any charges against him always count as disordered. Him and his unit, any charge against them will always count as disordered. So defensively, he can just stand there and let people charge him without any problems. Like you never have to worry about hold the line. You know, you can just overwatch. He's got a Assault 3 rending bolter.
Right.
So he's got like a nice little bit of shooting.
And he can precision shoot it.
Yeah, so you can choose where you go. So
24 inch range, is it?
It's 24 inch range, and it's Assault 3, Strength 5, AP 4.
Yeah.
So it's essentially like a heavy bolter.
Yeah.
But he also has obviously 2 up, 4 up invulnerable.
Yeah.
And a special rule that means, thanks to the Auric armour, so his armour's made out of the same stuff that the Custodes and also the Emperor's very own armour's made out of.
Yeah.
That means that regardless of special rules, and it says very clearly, regardless of special rules, Rogel Dawn may only be wounded on a 4+.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, so, las cannons, no, 4 up.
Yeah.
Which means, but again, this has to be specifically against him.
Yes, exactly.
So it's not like if he's in a unit.
If he's in a unit, it's against a unit. Yeah.
Yeah, but you go in against other Primarchs, so he can go up against Horus, who's got a strength 10 mace, and he still needs 4s to wound Dawn.
Wow.
So
that is so good, isn't it?
Makes him really survivable.
Jeez.
In fact, like it's quite interesting that him and Perturabo are like two sides of the same coin. That when they fight against each other, Perturabo's got that brutal 2, causing more wounds, but Dawn's harder to actually wound.
Yeah.
So they tend to cancel each other out, which is really quite nice. There's a real balance between the two of them. There's no clear winner.
Wow.
So yeah, out of all the Primarchs, he's one of my favourite. I mean, background-wise, definitely my favourite.
Yeah.
I mean, he's incredibly stoic. He's much more interesting than people think, just because he's actually got a lot of his personality is repressed. He's so concerned with duty. He's more focused on that than anything else.
Aren't we all? Eh?
Yeah.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, are we all? Well, yeah, when it comes to certain things, like
Playing the game, yeah.
But so that's Rogal Dawn. He is an absolute beast.
That's
absolute beast.
That is good. Yeah, he does sound.
He's got
terrifying.
a nice mix of adding stuff to the army with the leadership and all that, and then obviously in combat, he's an absolute.
I mean, the shred thing.
Yeah,
that's just
so
good.
strength 8. He wounds other Primarchs on 2s with shred, but then can't be wounded himself on anything better than the 4.
Yeah, he had 7 wounds.
7 wounds.
Well,
So
I mean,
you
wouldn't think it, would you?
No, I've reenacted the battle of Pluto against Alfarius a number of times, and he literally every time, just like
one round of combat, probably.
Yeah, a couple of times it's been one round, even when Alfarius has been completely fine.
And he did deserve it.
Yeah,
because Alfarius is
dirty traitor. Regardless of what anyone say, the Alpha Legion are traitors.
They are,
hands down,
and he deserved it.
Yeah, so that's the Primarch.
Yeah, awesome, man. That's so cool. All right, yeah. So a few more things to talk about. We have been alluding to it a bit anyway in between the discussions about the units and stuff. But yeah, so it might sound pretty obvious, but how do you use them effectively?
Well, again, what you do is you take Stone Gauntlet, right, and you wind up your opponent until they don't want to play you anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Set objectives, don't die, right?
No, I've talked about stuff like the Stone Gauntlet and how the Rights of War works. So I guess it's just little bits other than that. So, I mean, personally, I think you can really play into their Legion strength. So the fact that auto weapons give you that +1 to hit, and it's not just infantry. So if you take a Predator squadron, like they come with heavy bolters on sponsons as standard. So those heavy bolters are hitting on 2s. So you can keep them, chuck another pintle mounted heavy bolter on for 10 points. Like if you've got 10 points spare and a vehicle, 10 points for a pintle mounted heavy bolter, and that's 4 shots hitting on 2s, and it can be shot at infantry units other than the tank. So if you really go all in on auto weapons, you can make the most out of your Legion trait, and also they're cheap. Most of the time, like with Predators, the Predator cannon is the standard armament.
Yes.
So you don't pay any points. So you take 3 Predators with 3 heavy bolters on top. It's like 300 points, just like 300 and something. So it's like 120 for 1, 105, 105. So yeah, it's like 345 points for 3 Predators with 9 heavy bolters between them that all hit on 2s.
4 shots each now?
4 shots, 9 heavy bolters, 4 shots, and then you've got the Predator cannons that are strength 8 and rending.
So you've got 4 heavy bolters, all right?
4 heavy bolters.
So 3
heavy bolters. So 2 sponsons and then the pintle.
So 12 heavy bolter shots hitting on 2s on each tank.
Yeah.
So if you had 36 heavy bolter shots hitting on 2s, strength 5. Oof.
Yeah, you can really start like massing. I think I built an army which was a tank army that had 112 heavy bolter shots a turn. So 112 heavy bolts a turn hitting on 2s, and then you've got all the las cannons, all the Predator cannons, all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And yeah, so you can really, like, if you mass up with heavy bolters, I don't even take Volkite.
Yeah.
Like Volkite is such a strong choice,
but
I hit on 2s automatically with heavy bolters. Yeah. So I think I almost always take, if I'm taking like a ground-based army, I will almost always take at least 1 unit of heavy bolters.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You start throwing in something like a Castellan, and you can walk them onto an objective, and they're still snap firing on 5s.
Yeah.
So that helped me win one of my games in the most recent Brighton Heresy.
Walk forward,
I had just a squad of heavy bolters that walked right past the combat that had Lorgar and Galvor back and all that, and they just comfortably, just walked past it
Jesus.
all the way into my opponent's deployment zone. And by the end of the game, they scored an additional 2 points because it's Shatter Strike. And it's
Yes.
just cheeky
And
because of the Castellan giving them line.
And obviously using it effectively because you ended up winning.
I ended up winning, yes, I did. I ended up
So he definitely used it effectively.
very
He won
effectively.
all of his games.
4 out of 5, yeah. So
4
I've-
games,
yeah, and then the last one I took them to as well. I also won 4 out of my 5 games.
Yes.
So
I think the only loss was to the Iron Warriors, is that right?
yeah, the only loss I've had in your events with my Imperial Fists was to John's Iron Warriors.
Yes.
Other than that, the last one was 4 wins and a draw.
Wow.
So I've lost once in competitively. It's to John. John, who you've already seen with his Iron Warriors, who is the bane of my existence.
Yes. Bane Strike is just
Yeah,
Bane.
not just in game, out of game as well. He
The
is
unpleasantness, they call him.
He is the unpleasantness. Yeah. No, he's a good lad, really. And yeah, I painted up his Perturabo for him as well.
Yeah, we had a look at that.
Mainly because it makes me chuckle that the best painted thing in his army is something that I've done.
Yes.
And yeah, just to wind him up, really.
Oh yeah. Well, we could talk about John, couldn't we? But let's not talk about him anymore.
Yeah, effectively, other than that, I mean, I've really talked about a lot of
Yeah,
what I do.
there's a lot.
You can take Imperial Fist Terminators have the ability to deep strike. You
Yeah.
can take a bit of war gear that allows them to deep strike
Right.
outside of the Hammerfall right of war. So you know, you take them. It's quite useful being able to do that. But
I think with the fist, it does seem, and I'm not trying to be horrible,
Yeah.
but it does seem like there are one of those armies that are quite forgiving, and if you don't really know what you're doing, you can still just walk forward and set an objective and just roll dice.
oh god, yeah.
And you'll be. I mean, like there are armies. Raven Guard can't do that.
No.
Salamander can't do that. There's a lot of armies
God,
that
no,
can't,
no.
you can't
They
because the
are-
rules you have do not allow you
No.
to just sit a 10-man tactical squad on an objective and just be fine.
Yeah, they
won't
are very much a point and click army.
Yeah.
It's just like they've got really good shooting and quite strong combat as well.
Yeah.
So you can
And they
build
can
a very
hold-
defensive army, sit onto objectives, and if someone's got an assault based army, just go, come at me. I don't mind. I'll take it.
That's right. Yeah.
And yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, I think the Castellan is fantastic. In the game where there's objectives, being able to make those heavy support squads line, really great. But yeah, other than that, I think I've actually covered most.
That's cool. That's fair enough.
Most of it.
All right. Not much left. So, what would you like FAQ'd and any sort of future releases?
Well,
Especially because we're thinking about the background, aren't we? And we read a lot of the. We think we're both up to date, aren't we, on the Siege of Terror books? So yeah, there's always some things in there, isn't there?
always going
Pick
to be
out.
something. Let's face it, like everyone always wants something more.
You wanted, so I know you wanted a 2-up rerollable, didn't you?
2-up rerollable, that's the one. 2-up rerollables, like a bonus to. No, I'm going to be honest. This is probably going to be a different section than a lot of the other legions covered in like this series that you're doing.
Yeah.
Because as we've gone over, the Imperial Fists are in a really strong position.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as someone playing them, because I've loved them for so long, I'm loath to just stop playing them because they're too good.
And you shouldn't.
No, but I don't really think we need anything released in the future more than anyone else does.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, obviously some kind of Legion-specific upgrade kits that mix in with the new plastics would be nice, because obviously the older ones are getting phased out and then their current upgrades don't really match.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't think release-wise we need anything.
Fair enough.
We've got enough.
Yeah. So you're happy?
I'm actually
with what you've got?
genuinely happy with what we've got. I mean, if they do a book moving forward where, you know, every legion gets like another Rite of War, it'll be nice to have something else. Maybe something that encourages a bit more of a mobile kind of play rather than Stone Gauntlet.
Yeah.
You know, something that encourages something different rather than that. But I think we're in such a good position.
Yeah.
It would be greedy of me to ask for anything more.
Yeah. And there should be. To be honest, I mean, I know we get a hard time, but they are the last, in a way. I don't want to crap on Blood Angels again, you know, like and White Scars, but they are the sort of like stoic defence, aren't they?
Yeah.
As with the Blood Angels, because they are. I have like, I don't know, 3 Blood Angel tattoos on me.
Yeah,
which
I
is
mean,
weird.
Blood Angels are a really cool legion with some really fun and interesting background, and like they're really aggressive.
I really I read the last book. Did you finish reading it?
Yeah.
Recently? Oh god. Again, should we talk about the spoiler? I know we're leaking a bit. We're leaking a bit, but
no, it's right. We'll save that for another
we'll
time.
save that for the
As a Sons of Horus player, I took particular joy.
I'm not going to mention it.
I'm not going to say I got a bit of a murder boner.
Oh god.
But a little bit.
God, it was awful.
But So yeah, I mean, like future releases for them, I think Imperial Fists are they're in a very good position.
Yeah, they are.
We've already got 4 special characters
Yeah.
with
I think you've got enough.
and we've also got like their sort of Legion Decurion that came
Yeah.
in. I think they've got a special character for that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a special model rather for that already.
Yeah.
So you know, their cup runneth over. They don't need anything.
No, I don't need anything.
FAQ wise, I mean, I think FAQ wise, again, we're in quite a good position. Most stuff's pretty good. I think the one thing I would want FAQ'd is I want some changes to the Stone Gauntlet, just because I feel that it's too good.
Right.
For what it is now. So previously, you had to take Boarding Marines as your 2 compulsory troops, and then that allowed Phalanx Warders as a troops choice. Now you have to take Phalanx Warders as compulsory. Right. Now, because Phalanx Warders are so good with the way their rules work, with the Heart of the Legion and all that kind of stuff, the way that overlaps, why would you ever take Boarding Marines? Yeah. They are like Phalanx Warders are so good that it means it's almost you'll never see Boarding Marines. I would prefer if it went back to Boarding Marines being the 2 compulsory.
Okay.
That way, you would only really see 1, maybe 2 units of Phalanx Warders, and that's after you've already got Boarding Marines. So that you start having a much more heavy points investment to get those bonuses, rather than just, oh, congratulations, your basic 2 troops are ridiculously good.
Yeah.
You know, I think Phalanx Warders wouldn't be too bad if they were, you know, a 3rd choice, or were, you know, they can be line, but they get support squad, something like that. You know, I think that needs to be shifted, definitely. Yeah. Maybe just a slight tweak to the ruling as well, saying that invulnerable saves from boarding shields gets the reroll.
Maybe.
So then you don't have this weird interaction, because it says specifically just invulnerable saves. Yeah. You don't have that weird reaction with characters, interaction with characters, and all that kind of stuff.
I think some they don't. Yeah, I think that's what it needs to be.
Yeah.
Boarding Marines get it.
Yeah, I mean Phalanx Warders, I think they're fine. The +1 to their invulnerable save is really solid. Yeah. So having them as troops. So
I get it.
Yeah, but I think other than that, I think that would fix most of the issues. That yes, it would still play in the way that it's designed to, where it's really strong and quite resilient. But you wouldn't have all of these units where it's like basic troops are 4 up, re-rolling, and then feel no pain as well. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's one thing I'd like to see shifted. Other than that, I can't really think of anything, because obviously I'm quite happy with the state of it. The state of the army. Okay. So yeah. Okay.
Right. What we'll do now. I think we're probably coming to the sort of towards the end of it. Yeah. I have a little look at some of the models that you've got on display. Obviously, we'll focus on them, talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
But thanks very much for
No, it's been my pleasure.
Talking about the 7th Legion. It's been again really interesting for me again to sort of sit here and listen to the sort of different legions, because I don't really get to play against them that much at all, really. No. Maybe once or twice.
Yeah, you've played me a couple of times.
Yeah, probably once or twice. So, and getting into intricacies is really interesting for me. And hopefully, if you're listening as well, you'll find it as interesting as I have. So, we'll have a look at them, and then that's it. So, thanks very much for the chat.
No worries. Thank you. My pleasure as always.
Okay, so we're going to have a look at some of Tom's awesome models. So this one, who's this chap?
So yeah, that is Sigismund from Forge World, and I wasn't too keen on the Legion specific base that he had, so I've built up a custom scenic base that he can slot in and out of to play with, that is based upon the same kind of scheme that my army has, which is like all deck plating and that kind of stuff. Also swapped out the head to give him a nice helmet with some laurel leaves on.
Nice.
And yeah, he's a lot more of an aggressive stance.
He does look cool.
Yeah, really, really cool guy.
And here he is.
Yeah, then we've got Rogel Dawn, which was an absolute pleasure to paint. This was the 3rd Primarch that I got. I'd already done Perturabo for John and Horus for myself at this point. And I spent 20 hours, I think, just painting like the base. And like the armour on him, because the base is all like hand done marble effect.
When they went to Pluto, is that what it is?
Yeah, hence the Dead Alpha Legion.
Dead Alpha Legion.
And yeah, like the Primarch series, they have so many small details.
Yeah.
That it's just Yeah,
He's very
absolutely.
cool looking. I'd like him to be a bit more dynamic, but
I mean,
he's still cool.
I like the stance. It really
Yeah.
suits his character of this sort of noble warrior holding the line, waiting,
Yeah.
like in anticipation. I mean, if they do another model of him, like to represent him fighting at the Siege of Terror
Yeah.
with sword and shield, then I'll definitely get
Yeah.
it and paint it.
Cool.
Right, so this is like my second Leviathan for the army. This is the new plastic kit.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favourite models. Really enjoyed just a few little bits of conversion here and there. But the thing I like and the reason I've chosen this model to show you
Yeah.
is that when I paint my Imperial Fists, they're all very heavily weathered.
Yeah, sure.
But what I do is I paint them nice and clean first, and then play my first game. And then depending on how they die or how much action they get into,
Love it.
usually depends on the level of weathering.
Okay.
And this guy in particular, all on the right hand side of him down here, you can see he's
Yeah.
absolutely peppered.
Yeah,
with,
sure.
Right, compared to the other, which is actually
Nice and
kind
clean.
of still a bit of damage,
Yeah.
but nowhere near as heavy. And that's because in his very first game was against John,
Right.
and he died to shrapnel bolters.
Excellent.
So I represented all of the shrapnel hitting him on that side because
Amazing.
that's the side he was on. So I
That's
really
awesome.
like putting that kind of narrative in. Like, I will always remember
That's
that
so
game
good.
because of it.
That is so good.
Right, then up here is my Praetor. So this guy's in Tartarus armour, and he's the ridiculously tall 4-year-old Praetor that they've now discontinued
Oh, excellent.
because he was just too tall. It is ridiculous. And yeah, I've just put a different head on there, which I sculpted a mustache on.
Nice.
So he's got like a big old scar over one eye and a mustache, making him look properly grumpy. And yeah, he's in Tartarus armour with a storm shield and paragon blade. And again,
Okay.
just really dynamic, really cool looking character. And
Cool.
yeah, love using him. And then just got a couple of guys from the army. So this is one of my command squad with boarding shields. So if I play Stone Gauntlet, I'll quite often take them to go alongside Fafnir around. So they're all in Artificer armour, then with boarding shields, with the re-rollable invulnerable save, and weapon skill 5. So
Happy days for them.
yeah, and there's just an example of one of my Templar brethren. So they're all of them converted to this kind of level to look individual,
cool.
with like, you know, little bits of heraldry here and there, interesting bolt pistols,
sort of boarding
interesting
bases.
swords. Yeah, and the whole army is on
space
those
hockey.
bespoke bases where it's all like deck plating and that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
So yeah, there's a few examples of what I painted.
Lovely. All right, well, I should just pan out a little bit, but thanks again for your time today, and yes, been really interesting.